Greetings and salutations to all of you fluffy, non-fluffy, wonderful, equally as wonderful and lovely listeners out there. What's going on? How are ya? How's it going? How's your week going? Hope it's going well. Hope you don't mind that little mic bump there. Archie is currently giving me a drive-by with his tail. I don't know what this gotten into this cat. It's like, ow! It's like I've been gone for a week and I only went to work today, so I don't know what his deal is, but ow! He's pincushioning me pretty good. That's why I'm wearing a blanket right now. And you may be wondering, Samson, why are you wearing a blanket? It's like 88 degrees outside, and you would be right. Well, that is the beauty of air conditioning, my friends, or as my lovely house guests put it, aircon. Yes, so... And he just pushed the mic away from me. Sir, that tail is getting in the way. You need to sit down or lay down or something. Archie, you sit? You lay down? No? Okay, he'd rather sit with his head... he'd rather sit with his head underneath the microphone like a dingus. Listen here, we need to stop that, okay? No, but I love him. He's my boy. I love him. He's a nuisance and... a chaotic mess, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta have that in your life to have a good balance, because if everything was perfect all the time, we would not appreciate what is not perfect and what does not go well. So, that being said, I have some things that, okay, sorry, Archie. I'm sorry, Archie. I accidentally booped his nose a little too hard. Sorry. I'm sorry, Archie. I didn't mean to hit you. I just lifted my hand up to pet him and it went bop right on his nose. Whoopsies. Sorry. Oh, Archie, you poor thing. That's the thing, is he sits in such awkward positions on my lap that he does not have really a sense of space or boundaries, as it were. So, you know, anytime I move, I have the potential of either like pushing him off of my lap or like I will accidentally like boop his nose a little too hard, so... But anyway, hope you all are having a good week. I hope you're enjoying the summer continuing on. And I hope that everything that's been going on in your life has been given purpose, and even if it's not been given purpose, that you give it purpose. All hail the working man, as... who is that? Is that Robert Frost? I can't remember who said that, but it's a poem... that is... I heard this poem yesterday. It talks about basically like the middle person working and how taking pride in your work, even though it's not the most extravagant work to be had, can indeed bring a sense of self-worth. So look that up. All hail to the working man. I can't really remember the poem exactly, but it's something that I read yesterday that I think... we can appreciate for sure. But I do have some notes, so I'm going to pull these up real quick because this is a very formal podcast. Oh yes. So the first thing is I am officially back to my bachelor life. My lovely guests, Thunder and Libra, have departed back to the UK as of this past Sunday. So I am back to my empty house, which, in all honesty, is kind of sad because they were here for about 3 weeks and we had Anthrocon in there. So it was quite the time, let me tell you. We had such a good time. We went out places. We saw a lot of friends. We got all of our friends together multiple times, which I'm really happy to see. And they had the time of their lives over here in sunny, hot, and cloudy Ohio. So I want to thank you guys, if you're listening, for gracing me with your presence and being probably the best house guests I've ever had. This is the second year in a row that we got to do this. And I could not be more grateful for your presence and everything that you brought, and just being able to have fun and hang out and just be fluffy together and have just fellowship and companionship together, going to your guys' first con ever, and being able to host you through all that, and it's just been an absolute joy of my life. So I want to thank you for that. This past weekend, we got to celebrate a little bit. We went out and had a little fur meet locally, and a good turnout, I do have to say. I'm happy that it turned out that way, and I got to see everybody that I got to see, and they did too. And shout out to Campion Bun for being a lovely addition to that celebration, and also Kitty Mortis, if you're listening, for being just a sweet friend as well. And you guys really made that weekend, so I just want to give you the proper love that you deserve. It means a lot. So they're back home safely, thank goodness, and I'm just glad that it all worked out, and I'm glad everybody's back and safe in their homes, and we will continue on. And until next time, we will continue to be our best selves as much as possible. So shout out to you guys. Love you lots. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being amazing guests. And I can't wait either until I get to go over there and be your guest, or you come back over here and get to be my guest again. So until then, love you lots, both of you. I do want to talk about something that happened, I think it was on Monday, which was slightly concerning. I don't really know what to make of it, to be honest. But this is one of those weird phenomenons that happens generally. So you know how sometimes you have a moment in your life or a moment in time that just doesn't, it doesn't fit with, I don't want to say it doesn't fit with reality, but it just doesn't fit the vibe, or it doesn't fit what's going on in that current moment. This was one of those moments. I think we've all been there at some point, like, whoa, that just happened. What do I make of this? That was one of those moments that just happened. It was on Monday this past week, I believe. I got home, long day at work, productive. I was very tired, so I had a little sit down, and I was watching some live streams, some Twitch streams on, excuse me, some Twitch streams on some of my friends streaming, fellow streamers. By the way, twitch.com/Samson_Kitty_Fox if you want to check out the channel. I stream every week, and we are currently playing Elden Ring. Just a little side note, I'll link my Twitch in the description if you want to check it out. I stream every week, so let's play some video games. Let's have some fun together. But anyway, so I'm sitting there, I'm watching, I had some dinner, it was a good time, and I'm just chilling with Archie and watching these streams, and then all of a sudden I have my headphones on, right? But I can hear pretty much clearly what's going on outside of my door. And when I say that, I mean, like, I live in a complex, and I'm on the ground floor. There's about, I want to say 8 units in my building, so it's split up pretty evenly. And I'm on the ground floor corner unit, and I can hear everybody coming in and going in their houses. Thankfully, I can't hear what's going on like within the units, but I can hear when someone basically leaves, or I can hear when someone's opening their door, or when the main door is open, or, you know, I hear a doorbell, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. I can hear general things like that, which they're not a huge bother, but this phenomenon, and I'm calling it a phenomenon because it was that, was particularly odd and concerning. I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I hear the main doors open, like swing open, and then I hear bang, bang, like really loud on my door. Like, it was like someone kicked my door twice. And then immediately after that, I heard like footsteps running out and then back out the main doors. So I immediately spring up. My survival instinct, I guess, springs up out of me, and I jump off the couch and I run to the, excuse me one second. Ugh, sorry, I had to sneeze. I'm telling a story here, buddy. You don't have to be so rude. Yeah, that was a loud sneeze, so pardon my my pause there for a second. Anyway, So I spring up and I run to the peephole. I don't open the door. The door's locked. Thankfully, I have gotten into the habit of locking my door every time I enter the house. So I enter the house, close the door, door's locked. Like, even if I'm in there, if I'm gone, at all times, the door is locked, right? I've listened to too many Mr. Nightmare stories to to trust that my door will not be broken down or opened or something along those lines. So I'm looking out the peephole. I don't see anything. I'm looking to the side. Nothing. Um, there's no commotion. I don't hear any voices. I'm looking out. I'm staring out in the hallway for a long time. Like, I'm like just trying to gauge the situation. Like, what is going on out there? And nothing else happens. Like, there's nothing that follows up. It's almost as if someone decided to just run in my or run in my building, just run up to my door, kick my door twice, and then run back out immediately. I didn't know what to do, in all honesty. I considered calling the police. I considered knocking on my neighbors' doors to see if they heard anything. I considered all those things, but ultimately I didn't do any of those things. I didn't call anybody, because if I'm going to call the cops, what am I going to say? Like, oh yeah, someone kicked my door. Could you please, oh, we got an ice cream truck coming down. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Ice cream truck gone. Anyway, hey, maybe that was him. Maybe that was the ice cream man who was trying to sell me a free sample. Anyway, so I did not call the cops. I did not talk to any neighbors, because nobody was coming out of their units or anything to talk or see what was going on. But yeah, it was just like a quick 1, 2, 3 gone, right? And I immediately, so I don't carry. I just want to make that clear. I don't carry a gun. I don't have any, well, I don't have any real guns in my house. Like, I have well, I shouldn't say that. I have a pellet gun, which can do some damage if it really wanted to. So I can pack, I guess, but I have BB guns, from my childhood, but I don't have like a 9mm or anything like that. What I do have is it looks like a Glock. It's a pellet gun, right? It's a pellet pistol, actually, but it looks 100% real, right? And I get that, and I just put it to my side. Like, I keep it next to me just in case, because if anything, it can be a scare tactic, right? If anything, it can be some sort of a deterrent to an assailant, as it were. Should anybody break in, or should anybody, attempt to break in, then I can just, crack the door open and just like point that and be like, hey, listen, don't do that, or whatever. So I get that, and I just put it next to me, and I'm just sitting there waiting, and I'm sitting in silence for a long time, just waiting to see if anything else happens. I go out later, like hours later, and I check my car just to be sure that there's no like foul play. My tires aren't slashed. There's no like keying of my doors or windows, or any signs of forced entry, nothing like that. So ultimately, I decided to chalk this up as just a very harsh prank. Like, there are some kids around here. There are some like younger kids, and when I say younger kids, I mean like maybe middle school age, maybe a little older, who they'll run around and they'll do stuff. And there's also some really young college students that live in some of these units. So I just decided to chalk it up as like a very like devilish and stupid and annoying prank, right? So probably what it was some sort of like a extreme ding dong ditching, right? And it's been 2 days and nothing's happened since then. I am still on alert. I'm still keeping my would-be Glock next to me at all times, and making sure that I'm staying safe. There has been I mean, my neighbors are still going in and out of their units like nothing happened, so I don't think they had any issues or incidents. But yeah, it's just so weird that it was targeted to me, which I do want to speak to something very, very quickly, and this is something that I need to sort of get off my chest. And I don't want to sound by any means all high and mighty or like, I need protection or anything like that. It's not like that. There is a sense of security that you need to have as a content creator. And I'm by no means the most like well-known content creator. I am by no means like at all like a notable name in any sense. I like to make videos. I like to, post them. I like to do things in the furry fandom, which is ultimately anonymous. Like, I have not put my name out there. I have not put my face out there. So that there's that, right? For security reasons, for privacy reasons. I have a very strong separation between the furry persona, as it were, and my personal life. Okay, there is a life that I live outside of the fandom. I live a simple life. I have a cat. I live in this place by myself. I work a job. I have a family that my immediate family being like my parents and my brother, I see on a regular basis. I have friends outside of the fandom, so yeah, the fandom is not 100% my life by any means. It's not my life in any circumstance as far as being 100%. It is a fun thing. It's a hobby that I like to do. It's something that's always been a hobby, and I have definitely been guilty of going too deep into it before, and I've also gone shallow with it. So I've been all over the place with the fandom, and I would not like to live a life that is 100% furry all the time. That would be exhausting, and I have experience with this. It is exhausting to be fluffy all the time, okay? So, at least for me, and this could be some advice for somebody out there who may be struggling with separating the two. I can only speak for myself. Separating the fandom and your personal life is indeed a healthy act. It's a healthy way to go about living, because you have to have some sort of a boundary when it comes to these things, especially when it comes to a hobby or it comes to a lifestyle or whatever you want to call it. Because I would honestly go insane if I had to live one way or the other. Like, either I'm 100% furry all the time, or I'm not furry at all, and I would just be upset. So if I was 100% all the time, I would be exhausted and burnt out. If I was not a furry and I just lived a regular working average Joe life, then that would be sad. I would be upset if I didn't have the fandom. So I like to keep a happy medium. I like to keep a nice general medium. I step away when I need to. Sometimes I will go an entire week to 2 weeks without fursuiting or going to any events or cons. I just need that time to replenish, recharge, and, not do anything that is super adventurous in the fandom. And plus, it saves a lot of money, not to mention. But going back to my original point, there is a sort of, how do you say, the word I want to use is understanding. There's a sort of, I guess, I almost said repertoire. I don't know if that's the right word. You have to have an awareness when it comes to being a content creator. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to be aware of your activity online. You have to monitor your accounts. You have to be super, you have to be virile, and you have to be on target when it comes to putting privacy out there, putting your privacy out there, putting your, for example, I mentioned your full name or your face. You have to be aware of those things, very aware. And in this case, I don't put my face out there. I don't put my real name. I certainly don't put my address. Heck no. But there is that chance, there is that understanding, that small, slim chance that someone is going to find out information. They'll find out my real face, my identity, my real name, my whereabouts, where I reside, those kinds of things. So I have to be, especially as a content creator, I have to be on point with those things, and I have to be careful. Because the off chance that somebody does end up, in this case of understanding, doxing me and decide to show up at my house, I need to be ready for that, So what I do, not only do I keep those informational bits, those personal informational bits offline, but when it comes to accounts that are connected with my actual name, I have a VPN. I have my security set up. I use Aura, as I've mentioned before. I use Aura to protect, encrypt my data and protect, basically my persona online. So I have to. Like, there is no question. As a content creator, as someone who has some pull in this fandom, of having some notoriety, there has to be a barrier. There has to be a protection blanket, because if my information's out there, it can very easily get leaked to the wrong person. As a matter of fact, I will tell a very quick story about something that happened a couple years ago. There was I'm not going to mention names or anything, just for the sake of my own safety. There was an individual who attempted, and this is real, and it happened, who attempted to dox me. And I gotta be honest, they did it in the dumbest way possible, okay? They ended up doxing themselves in reverse and didn't realize it. So what had happened was, it was on one of my love streams, which I do generally once a month. I was not, I guess, very attentive to their comments or their chat questions or something like that. And they ended up getting very bent out of shape. And I mean, like, to the point where they actually threatened me in chat. And when you do that, that's illegal for one thing. But when you threaten in chat, like violence, you get banned. So I banned them. And rightly so, because they were very unhinged and they were saying a bunch of stuff. And I was like, nope, goodbye, see ya. And I ended up having to kind of cool the tensions down a little bit, because everybody was freaking out, like, oh my gosh, that guy was unhinged, he was crazy, I can't believe that, he would say that thing. I'm like, listen, it happens. It's the internet. It happens. I'm not gonna pay too much mind to it unless something else occurs. And I thought that would have been the end of it. We ended up having a good stream. We, finished well, had a nice little loving conversation with all of you at the end. And as I said, I thought that would be, I thought that would be the end of it, but it was not. The next day, I look on YouTube, and I had been tagged in a community post. This person who I banned put out a community post publicly, and it was on Zillow. It was a screenshot of Zillow, and it was basically the person was saying, if anybody has information on Samson Kitty Fox, please let me know. Can you help me get this person, help me get his information, basically, is what it was saying. I don't remember verbatim what it said, but it said, I need to find him so I can blah, 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 blah. You fill in the blanks. Another threat, right? Well, here's where the reverse doxing comes in. Doxing, rather. The reverse doxing happened because, lo and behold, he did not realize that he had put his own address in the screenshot, saying it was like a Google Maps tab that gave his address and like the distance from his address to like wherever city that he put in. It wasn't even my city. Like the city that I live in, it wasn't even mine. I saw that in the screenshot. It wasn't even my city. I'm like, okay, first of all, you're trying to dox somebody. That's illegal. Second, you've threatened violence. That's also illegal. Third, you doxed yourself in a public community post. How dumb are you? So I promptly reported it. And that was the end of it. I didn't hear what happened. I didn't hear about any reprimands or any like arrests or anything like that. I reported it like I should have, and everything went poof, like gone. Account, name, post, person, everything just poof, gone. And I was like, okay, well, I guess that was it. And that was 2 years ago, and I haven't heard anything since. So all that to say, please be safe online, because you're going to meet somebody that is, for lack of a better term, crazy and wants something from you and will do anything that they can, even if it's as dumb as doxing yourself. They will do anything to make sure that you are, taken down, right? But in essence, they got taken down. You don't mess with Samson. I will come back guns blazing. I have a limit. People always say, "Oh, Samson, you're so nice and you're so cordial and you're so easygoing." Well, I have my limits too. Okay? You don't threaten violence. You don't come in my chat and, say those things, and you don't try to dox me. That's when things get serious. And you will no longer have the opportunity to participate in this community that I have worked very hard to build over the past few years. So, yeah, no, don't do that. So the point is, be safe online. Be safe in your homes. Take the right courses of action. I'm not saying go buy a gun. I'm not saying that. I'm saying lock your doors. Make sure everything's secure and safe. Make sure you are secure and safe. Make sure you have contacts that you can reach out to if something goes wrong. Make sure that you have things set up so if something happens, you can be ready. Okay? So I thought that was interesting. All from a kick from a door. So, yeah, that's my little TED Talk. I hope you appreciated that. Moving on to something else, I do want to talk about someone very, very special. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. Oh, yeah. That was a big hit to the metal, rock, and music community at large. That man was a legend. Still is. The man had his final concert on July 5th in England, and he was able to, I think it was called Back to the Beginning, if I'm not mistaken. He had his final concert in England, and it was, in a sense, I have a feeling that he had some sort of like a sense, or he had like some sort of he knew something was about to happen, so he wanted to give his fans one final goodbye. And oh my gosh, he did. If any of you are curious, Google Ozzy Osbourne Back to the Beginning concert and just have a watch. It's a great show. Very emotional. I was emotional watching it. But yeah, 76 years old. Ozzy Osbourne, as of yesterday, has passed away. He had Parkinson's. He had a whole bunch of health issues. He had kidney issues. He was a walking terminal, like, petri dish. I don't mean to say that disrespectfully. I mean that in the sense of the man had a lot of issues, and he did everything he could to take care of himself. Like, God bless him. And God bless him, he lived. He lived a long time. 76. Isn't that something? But he went out in the way that I think he wanted to. Surrounded by love, surrounded by his family, surrounded by music and the songs that he wrote. And that last concert, I think that he knew that was it. And I like to think that he went peacefully. I don't know exactly how he passed, but yeah, I like to think that it was peaceful. I like to think it was without pain. I like to think that it was without any worry or concern. He was able to set up things for his family. I'm pretty sure that his family is well taken care of, because he was a legend. He had a lot of ground in the rock community, in the metal community, the music community. So I believe that his family is taken care of. So rest in peace, Ozzy. Forever Sabbath. We love you, and we'll never forget you. We lost a big one when you passed, and I don't think we'll be recovering from that for a while, but we will go on listening to your music and sending our love through your music as much as we can. So, and to that, I want to it's about half an hour in, so I think it's a nice little tidbit here to end talking about inspiration. I like the idea of Ozzy going out on his own terms in the ways of his last concert and being the final goodbye. Like, to me, that was him expressing his true self and his true element to his fans and his family and all his friends. And it got me to thinking about living on your own terms and how a lot of times we struggle with that, because a lot of times we can be social chameleons. We tend to people please. We tend to make ourselves in ways that we don't particularly like or appreciate or are comfortable with to win others over. And that right there, to an extent, it's good to be agreeable, I will say. It's good to be agreeable. Like, if there's something that somebody shows you or somebody's about that you're not really about, you don't have to subscribe to it, but you can listen. You can listen. You can let it wash over you. You can consider what they're saying or who they are or what they do, but you don't have to be that person. You don't have to be just like them in order to win them over or in order to be friends or whatever. You know, especially in relationships, talking like intimate relationships, you know, romantic ones, marriages. There have been too many marriages and relationships that have failed miserably because one person thought they were one way and they were in fact not, or they were that social chameleon that they made themselves a certain way and they couldn't take it anymore. So they just snapped and they were like, yeah, I'm actually not this way. I just wanted to win you over. I wanted you to fall in love with me or whatever. You know, it happens all the time. I have been that person before. You know, I've been that person in romantic relationships where I thought it was okay to be a certain way or to, you know, be this or that or say that I like this or that. And I in fact did not. And I don't mean that in the sense of like, oh, I lied for my relationship. I lied throughout my entire relationship. No, not like that. It was more or less I tolerated the things that I had to quote unquote subscribe to when really I didn't have to, right? So again, I didn't know the line. I didn't really understand the line between agreeableness and making yourself a social chameleon, in a sense. And that brings me to a quote from another rock star from Motley Crue, Nikki Sixx. And Nikki said, I believe this was in one of their songs, if I'm not mistaken, but it's a powerful quote that I heard today that I love, and it made me really think about the idea of living on your own terms and being your own person. And the quote goes, "If you want to live on your own terms, you have to be willing to crash and burn." I'm going to say that one more time. If you want to live on your own terms, you have to be willing to crash and burn. So what does that mean? Well, to me, that means ride or die. That means you're going to be unequivocally, unapologetically, and like unfathomably you. Unfathomably yourself. Without question, be yourself. And what it means to crash and burn, that means that you're going to be you until the end. Or until you... Basically, until you will go down swinging if you have to. And I know that's a very extreme analogy, but a lot of times people will take themselves to the point of the end, death, to be themselves. I mean, you hear a lot about martyrdom. You hear a lot about someone who had a mission. A great example is missionaries, you know, across the world who are preaching the gospel, and they will go to the point of death to preach the word of God. You also hear examples of people who, like, for example, if any of you have seen the movie Valkyrie, I believe it was Tom Cruise's character was the head operator of Project Valkyrie, which was an attempt to assassinate, I'm not going to say his name, but you know who I'm talking about, A.H., yeah, the big leader of the regime in World War II. You know who I'm talking about. And ultimately, I mean, it's a 20-year-old movie, so at this point I'm going to spoil it. Ultimately, it got him killed. But why? Because he stood for sacred Germany. He stood for a nation that was prideful in its values, and he did not subscribe to the regime's policies or their ideology, and he went down swinging to the point of assassination, or to the point of, rather, execution. And that right there is true character. That to me is character that in fact came out on top in the end. Even though he died for what he believed in, he still believed it, and he still lived it to the very end. So again, even though that's an extreme example, that's something for us to think about as people, as humans. We need to be ourselves. As a matter of fact, another quote that I thought of, and I'm throwing a bunch of quotes at you guys, so pardon me, but someone as creative and as simple, and I think we as furries can appreciate the works of Dr. Seuss. And a lot of you have heard this quote before, but I'm going to repeat it because it's worth saying again. Dr. Seuss said, "Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind." Which is to say, you're going to be rejected. In our case, in our society, the way that we live generally, we're going to get rejection. We probably aren't going to be held at gunpoint, more than likely, because those odds are very low, but we're going to be rejected by people for being ourselves. And I once heard that when you're constantly being rejected, or when you're rejected by others, it means that you're doing something right. It means that you're on the right track if you're being rejected by others. Because we're not meant to love, well, okay, we're meant to love people, but we're not meant to be loved by others and everybody that we meet. We're not meant to be liked by everybody that we meet. We're going to find people are going to come in our lives, and we're going to be in other people's lives that we just don't vibe with. And it happens all the time. You cross paths with somebody, you find out some things about them, they find out some things about you, and then you both kind of realize we don't really gel that well. I mean, we can be nice, we can be cordial, we can love each other, but we cannot we can't find ourselves to be on the same page a lot of times. And I know for personal experience, I've had relationships that are no longer there because we just didn't gel, and that's okay. More often than not, it was a mutual separation. It was a mutual understanding of, okay, we need to go our separate ways. And if we cross paths again, great. But we're not going to blood, sweat, and tears over this. It was mutual. It was a understanding, and it was oftentimes an unspoken understanding of, yeah, I think we're done here. But if I see you again in the future, I'm going to say hi. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be cordial. I'm going to ask how you are. I'd love to sit down and have a coffee with you. I'd love to catch up sometime. But as far as having a close friendship, relationship, whatever, you fill in the blank, it just doesn't work, And I'm going to be honest, that is a hard realization. It is a harsh reality that a lot of us have to face, that we're not going to get along with everybody. We're not meant to be liked by everybody that we meet. We're not meant to be loved by everybody that we meet. Although, we can show love no matter what. Even if we don't vibe with them or click with them, it's okay. We don't have to expend ourselves so much to the point where we try and try and try and try and it just doesn't work. Even though we know it doesn't work. So let's stop. Let's just take a step back and reassess and realize it's okay. Rejection is expected. And when you reject, or when you get rejected, you're doing something right. You're on the right path somewhere, because it shows that you are self-aware. You are in tune with yourself. You understand your own boundaries. You understand your tolerance. You understand what you're willing to accept and what you're willing to put aside. And that kind of character development is often rare these days. Let's not be social comedians. Comedians? Let me rephrase. let's not be social chameleons. If you're a comedian, great. By all means, go after that dream. But like comedians, oh my gosh, I'm tired. Anyway, let's not be social chameleons and try to color change at every single social situation or person that we meet, because changing your colors is hard. When you're not, you're trying to be purple when you're red. You're trying to be blue when you're pink. And you can use all the makeup and spray paint and, these are metaphors, but use all the makeup and spray paint and clothing and this and that you want. But eventually the true you is going to come out, and it's going to stand at the end of the day, because that's what stands, is you at the end of the day. You can only shield and hide, and you can only you can only paint a persona of yourself for so long before the paint starts to wither away, and then the true you comes out. So that's my little TED Talk once again. That's the second one in a row. How about that? In addition to that, there is something that Marcus Aurelius said that I think is pretty powerful as well. He said that you always own the option of having no opinion. And that also comes from a Rush song, which I believe is Free Will. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. And in this case, in this context, you can have no opinion. You don't have to think of that person or that situation as any certain way. You can just be indifferent. Hey, look, we don't vibe. I don't hold anything against you. And that's it. This situation, especially political times, I don't have an opinion, because I don't feel I have the credibility or I have a say here. So I'm going to back up. I'm making the choice to not make a choice, So I hope that was encouraging for you. It may be a little divisive, if I'm being honest, but I told you all that at the beginning of this podcast that I was going to be transparent, and this is a way for me to, speak my mind in other ways that I can't normally do on the main channel or on my Twitch streams or whatever. So I'm going to be real with you, and this is me being real. So my apologies if I had offended. It was not my intention. Definitely not my intention to divide or, make things worse in any means. But, just know that it is not for malintent. It is for the purposes of being yourself and being real and being unapologetically you. And sometimes having no opinion is better than trying to force yourself to have one about something or somebody. So I'm going to say that's the podcast. I'm going to say that's a good way to end it right there. Oh, side note, before we go, I do want to mention this weekend I will be at the Fizzy Fox meet in Louisville, Kentucky. Hey! So if any of you are going to Fizzy Fox this weekend, I will see you there. I will be fursuiting. I'm going to get some soda. I'm going to see some friends there, going with some friends. We're all going to travel down on Friday. So I'm hoping to have a good time. This will be my first Fizzy Fox meet, so I'm really excited. I cannot wait to experience this legendary soda truck that I have been seeing online for the past 2 years. Kajit Kitty is an awesome person, and they do amazing content, and I can't wait to meet them in person. Just be like, hey, you do some great work, so thank you for strengthening our community through something as small as delicious drinks. It really brings us together. So Fizzy Fox meet. If any of you are there, I'd love to see you. Feel free to come up and say hi, get a picture, get a hug. I would love to meet you. And I'm going to have the time of my life there. So let's do it. Let's have a good time with some sodas. All right? So that's the podcast. I want to thank you all for listening. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Thank you all for your love and your support and everything that you've given me. It's not the fact that I have to do this every day. It's the fact that I get to is a real gift, and I cannot thank you enough for this gift that you've given me. The fact that you all have come together and just show your support constantly, and the love that you show every week. It just means the world, and it's an honest joy of my life, and I could not in any way repay you for it. you all have made me who I am today, and in all honesty, I would not be here if it wasn't for you. This is why I do this, so I'm going to do my best to continue to make things for you. And to all of you who are listening right now, thank you for listening all the way to the end. I could not thank you enough. So on that note, always remember the Latin phrase, sic parvis magna. Remember greatness from small beginnings. No matter where you started or where you begin and where you are now, there is greatness in every step that you take, whether that is greatness created by you or whether you find it along your way. This is your journey, and no one can take that away from you. No one can ever tell you who you can and can't be, or what you can and can't do, or who you are. That is for you to decide. So by all means, be unapologetically, unequivocally, and unmatchably you, because there is no one like you, there has never been anyone like you, and there will never be anyone like you in the future. So be yourself. You are unique, and no one can do the things the way that you can, quite the way you can. So, until next time, my friends, this is Samson Kitty Fox. Thank you for listening, and I will catch you in the next episode. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Meow meow. Love you all.